Well, I'm delighted to be here this morning. My name is Kelly Marchese, and I lead, as Rob mentioned, I lead our federal supply chain practice, but I really bleed manufacturing. So I grew up, I was an industrial engineer. I went straight from undergrad into working with GE. I worked on the line, worked in building aircraft engines in Cincinnati, Ohio. Then I moved and worked in power generation, working on the third shift, leading our stockroom facility, and then over into Louisville, Kentucky, where we helped make 3,500 refrigerators a day in order to keep the beer cold. So I've seen all elements of manufacturing, and I care deeply about manufacturing. And one of the reasons I'm here is because not just I care deeply, but Deloitte cares deeply about manufacturing. It's a really important part of our economy, and we were commissioned to do a study on Manufacturing USA. So I'll talk about that particular report and what Manufacturing USA and the progress that it's making towards its objectives. I don't want to repeat what my colleagues here have said, but just to reemphasize, I personally am bullish about where we are around manufacturing. It's not going to look like yesterday. It's not the manufacturing of yesterday. But it still has. We still have the potential to be very globally competitive and be in the highest position by the end of the decade in terms of global manufacturing competitiveness. So I'm bullish on that. I think a lot of people are paying attention, including our current administration, and we have the opportunity to continue the trajectory that we're on. Manufacturing is incredibly important, and we've said it a couple of times today. It drives GDP output. It drives high-value exports and much higher income jobs. It actually also has the benefit of having a multiplier effect. So for every manufacturing job, you can find a study out there, it could create 4 to 16 times itself in terms of other types of jobs that surround it. So it's really important. In order to succeed in manufacturing, talent has to be the number one priority. Making sure that we have the right skills. And there's currently a skills gap out there that will only grow unless we have attention paid on that, paid to that. There are things that we need to do with the workforce who cannot be reskilled, but we can't ignore the fact that we need to continue focusing on the generations that will learn. So talent is number one. Advanced manufacturing technologies. That can be looked at in terms of automation, taking jobs away. Advanced manufacturing and those technologies are incredibly important to us staying ahead of and keeping our focus on innovation. So in order for our companies to innovate, we have to stay on the front end of advanced manufacturing technologies. And, the ecosystem in and around manufacturing is incredibly important as well, because we are getting with even tighter connections between suppliers, producers, and customers. And with technology and advanced technology, that becomes even tighter and faster. Most CEOs will say that advanced manufacturing is the key to unlocking our future competitiveness. It's already happening that way. Physical to digital connections are prevalent. You can't go to any kind of advanced manufacturing show without being wowed by what we can now do every month after month. The advances are amazing. So all that being said, we're not the only nation to recognize that manufacturing is important. Other nations are investing, and some at a much more aggressive rate than we have in the past. While the U.S. has done a good job nurturing STEM and building our R&D capabilities, the gap is narrowing, and so we need to continue to focus in those particular areas. There's no singular solution. One solution that is having an impact is this idea of public-private partnerships around advanced manufacturing technologies. And that's why I was actually invited to speak, is around Manufacturing USA. That is a program that was created 5 to 7 years ago, so it's a relatively young program, and it was really to foster the connections across its members. So it is a combination of federal agencies, academia, and industry members who come together around specific technologies in order to advance through the valley of death of technology, where the breakdown between deep R&D and commercialization bring members together so that they can accelerate through that technology gap and reduce the overall cost of technology. Manufacturing USA started out with a single institute probably about 5 years ago, and now is up to 13 institutes. So it's made good progress over the last 5 years. Some are more mature than others. And so as we went and did this independent study of the Manufacturing USA program, we got both qualitative and quantitative evidence of the impact of those particular institutes. The institutes are catalyzing R&D projects through the use of federal funding. It's reducing the cost of overall R&D advancements. And when we talk about entrepreneurship, that's incredibly important. If these young companies actually want to have viable future businesses, they don't necessarily have the capital to invest in that equipment to test out new innovations. And these institutes provide the opportunity for them to use those pieces of equipment, but also to work with other partners and accelerate through and figure out how to commercialize that particular technology in a product that they may be developing. I think the Manufacturing USA program also signals the importance of manufacturing to U.S. interests. And we don't want to hear about it just every 4 years when there's an election, right? This is a constant signal, and as a new institute goes into a new area and catalyzes that community, it's a signal that community is growing and is vibrant, and those clusters are formed so that people can feel confident that they can grow in that particular area. So one of the quantitative evidence, pieces of evidence that this is being successful is, I mentioned there were 13, is it 14? 14, sorry, I can't keep up. When we did our study, there were 8. So at the time of the study, there were 8 institutes, and we looked at not just membership of the individual institutes, that each of them focused on a different technology, and you'd think maybe they've got enough autonomy to operate independently, but there's a lot of intersection of the potential of the members that are participants. So across those 8 institutes, there were 1,200 members that were participating. But when you dug deep and you looked at who's working together and the relationships that were being built through collaboration on workforce development activities, on R&D projects, we found evidence of 9,500 different relationships that had been developed because of these institutes existed, and it's an exponential impact on the what's happening within the space. Now, what we found after looking through crowdsourcing efforts, where we asked members what is the value that you're actually getting from the institutes, talked to the institute directors about what were the things that they were finding successful and what were some of the challenges, is that this program was making great progress, but now that it was reaching critical mass, there were opportunities to take it to the next level. So now that you have 14 institutes, what are the things that would allow the Manufacturing USA program to be that much more successful? One of them was around providing even greater connectivity of cross-technology projects across the institutes. And that's something the institute directors are already looking at. But doing more of that, now that there's more of them, a lot of our problems are cross-technology problems. Looking at the efficiency across that network of institutes, allowing them to focus on the business of R&D. So pulling out what are some of the things that can be done in a shared service way around back office operations. Looking at how to apply less restrictive contracting so that those small to medium-sized businesses that actually want to do research, they have the ability to do it without being weighted down by the administrative burden. And actually shifting some of the focus more towards the commercialization. Sometimes the emphasis was more on the TRL, the 4 and 5 as opposed to the 6 and 7. So focusing more of the research on the back end where that, so that there's a balance and more things can be driven towards commercialization. And finally, really focusing on aligning workforce development with local, state, and national programs. There is a lot of opportunity. Every one of these innovation institutes has done a lot locally in order to think about how they can prepare the next generation of workforce for to be able to work in that particular technology. But if you think about if you just happen to live near that institute, that may not necessarily be the area of technology that you want to focus on. So how to go into a region and provide education around all the different types of advanced technology. So I think a lot of what we found in the study is about what Manufacturing USA is doing is very much tied to the ITIF study. So when you talk about focusing on high value add defensible sectors and segments, that's very much aligned with what Manufacturing USA is doing and looking at the different technologies like biopharmaceuticals, 3D printing, and energy embodied energy reduction. It's also tied to changing the playing field through technology just by the nature of the fact that these are technology innovation institutes. And finally, around paying attention to where advanced production is located. So each of these institutes are located in a region, and so there are clusters forming around there, but there are opportunities to even grow those clusters, not just by adding new technology institutes, but by working across and working with those small to mid-sized business organizations across different regional locations. So as I said at the beginning, we care deeply about manufacturing. I'm a dirty fingernails kind of gal. I'm bullish about where we're at and looking forward to seeing what the new administration will do to take it to the next level. Thank you.
Thank you.